Well, it's always, yeah. Up to a point.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna work there for a second.
Wow, that's quick for this time.
Nice if it would just do it clean.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Welcome to Harney County Court Session. If you'll stand and please join me for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, good morning again, everybody. So we've taken care of voucher approval. Next topic is department head updates and the treasurer. Treasurer Heaney, you are up first.
Okay,
You
Um,
want your list?
yes, I have a couple of things to give you. I'll just pass, if you can pass those down. I have a couple other copies if anybody would like to see what I'm talking about. the- Pardon me? Oh, okay. The first document I'd like you to notice is labeled Harney County Financial Policy. I was finally able to get a draft done of a simple financial policy. And I submitted this to Audrey, legal counsel, on June 21st. And asked her to just review for me before I present it to the court for approval. So anyway, you could look at this at your leisure, and if you have questions, let me know. I had Administrative Assistant Holly, also Tammy Adelberger, Indiana, all had a copy and reviewed. Just so kind of we're all on the same page. And this policy really would just set forth the county's position in, as it relates to our financial activities and how we have second sets of eyes on the things that we do and just outline what those duties are. And then my goal is, once this is approved, is to work on other policies that address specific other financial activities that we do. I've been in contact with other treasurers throughout the county and gotten various policies, and I kind of like the idea of like a blanket policy for this, and then small policies that accompany this for the certain tasks like journal entries and how we handle bank reconciliations and those kind of things, but this is the start.
Okay.
So that's for your eyes, and I've been working on this. It's been on my to-do list for about 2.5 years, so I'm really happy that I have something finalized to hopefully get approved in the near future.
Thank you.
Yeah, and be sure to reach out to me if you have questions about anything in there. Yeah, and then the second piece that I
And
brought,
just to ask, is there any aspect of the assessor or tax official that should be part
no,
of this?
because this just relates
Wanna make
strictly to the financial activities that relate to my duties, specifically receiving revenues in
Okay.
the bookkeeping system. So that her duties are separate from that.
Just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure.
yeah.
Is this your plan in its entirety then, or your policy in its entirety?
For this yes, for just a simple financial policy, and then my goal is to then provide like a policy for like how we handle the journal entry, like a simple 1-page thing, and then we could at some point compile it, but I've seen policies where they're like, manuals. And so I thought
Oh,
we
no,
could,
short policies are good if they cover what you need covered.
I think
They
it
don't
covers
need
our
to be
bases.
voluminous.
and I'm kind of molding this, not Klamath County. I'd have to tell you the county that I'm kind of holding this from, because I'm not recreating the wheel. I've gotten various financial policies and then kind of revamped in my words, but using another policy.
You know, this is gonna be good because for any department, you know, I call them turnover folders, but they can be whatever, where even if you have another location where these are located, but for the turnover file, if someone is ever coming into your job, you know, years from now, when you're phasing out, you know, this will be a great help. You didn't have this.
Yeah, I didn't.
And the procedures weren't, you know, hadn't developed to where they are today. So now that's great.
And the other thing I'd like to add is like a lot of the grant applications, almost all of them are requiring something and we haven't had it. So this would fill that need. So,
Good.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
we could look at putting this on the next agenda for official approval.
yeah, I just need to hear back from Audrey, and I was out and she's been out. So I was gonna reach out to her sometime, probably next week, and say, hey,
So she's looked at this, but she hasn't given you her.
she hasn't, I haven't heard back from her
Okay.
since I initially sent it to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Within, Laserfish in our archives, the journal, Commissioner's Journal, whatever, is there a folder for policy? Where we could categorize and put all policy together and make it easier to find instead of just mixed in with things?
There is, but it's been done so differently all the time. So the court has adopted ordinances, policies, resolutions as policies. A policy as a policy, so they're not titled that. So when they get entered, they're like, it'll go in as an ordinance or a resolution or a policy. If you adopt this as a resolution or ordinance, it depends on how you would put it in. You generally, it's hard to put them in one folder like that, depending upon how they're titled. So
So if
with the word
if we
search,
were
you can
to
generally find it. So-
create like more of an administrative policy folder, where
Mhm.
just these type of administrative policies lived,
It
would
would
that
be,
be an option?
it would be nice to be able to do that. I think it would be, it's similar to what we're trying to do with the uniform fee schedule. I mean, to try to make, we want to standardize it so that it's
Uniform.
uniform, and we want a uniform way of planning these. And that's been the struggle all along, is we've had them as resolutions, ordinances, as policies. And so depending on that titling, ordinances have to go here, and resolutions have to go there, but even though it's a policy, it's an ordinance or resolution.
So in the past, whenever a resolution that serves as a policy has come up, it hasn't been potentially stored in both places.
Exactly.
So with this type of policy in your view, and obviously Audrey will weigh into it, would it be by resolution?
I would think it would be resolution. It's not necessarily an ordinance. We're
Right.
creating a law with it.
That's where I'm like,
Um,
seems like a resolution.
It seems like a resolution to me, and I would ask that of Audrey. I think that she would advise what it needs to be.
Do that when I reach out to her, I'll ask.
Determine.
The official acts like that tend to be resolution, because that's where the court makes a resolution to enforce something. That's generally what it is, so.
Okay,
Unless it's a law, like our fee schedule is an ordinance. because-
yeah, we're just trying to set forward, some standardization, but it's not
Right.
necessarily, and to me, it doesn't feel like an ordinance.
Well, and the employee handbook again is adopted by resolution, and it's a policy, but it's not adopted by resolutions. When there as resolutions, we tend to be more formal, and so they're not going to look for those things.
Okay, well, look. We're trying to capture those so that it's a little bit easier to review and research and,
A standardized method so that it's
Yeah.
easy to find what we're looking for, yeah.
could we, I mean, it's a resolution, but in the statement, whatever that portion of the resolution is called. But just a resolution to adopt a policy
Exactly.
or something like that, and that way, when somebody searches the word policy, it would at least come up in
Right.
those. Okay.
And that's really how we do the searches now, looking for, I try to search for a resolution regarding something that's, we do the keyword code for it to find it where it's mentioned in a variety of ways, or places in that.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. The second document I have is just a copy of our pool cash report for the end of our fiscal year, June 30. I was able to get June's revenue receipted yesterday. This report does not reflect interest earned or any other minor journal entries I may have that will happen in the next week or so. But you can see that our general fund, balance ended at $1,177,573. Our budgeted ending fund balance was $1,130,000, so we're roughly $47,000 more than what we anticipated, which is good news. We still have interest to receipt. We still have a transfer from general fund to make to our operating reserve. And that was budgeted at about 125. I looked this morning, so Judge Hartman can have a conversation once everything is input, how much we want to transfer to that operating reserve effective June 30th to know where our ending fund, beginning fund balance is.
Is that something where you just make a decision at this point, or do you follow whatever
Well, it
was?
was budgeted a certain amount, and
Yeah.
so we're trying to achieve that amount if possible.
Right. And so it's just,
And you
A
said you
discussion.
saw that it was 125 is what the budgeted amount.
yeah, it was the budgeted amount to transfer.
For last year's budget.
For last year's budget. So once, we're only on the 3rd, so I don't have June fully complete, but once we do, we can have a conversation about that and then.
Just real quickly, the difference between last year's budget and this year's budget is that general fund operating reserve fund transfer amount was kind of what was left after we did things last year. Whereas this year I started out with that number at the top as a goal. I
Yeah.
started out with that. So
It's budgeted in a more
Yeah.
formal way.
Yeah. So this report, and I know you're familiar with it, but the current balance column that I have highlighted is the ending balance, not including interest or any other small entries that may be made. I want you to flip all the way to the back page. And that shows you, basically the cash bank accounts where the money is deposited. So on the current balance, you can see the balances of the bank account. On the second account listed, which is Athena, and that account is for, public health. The reason that shows a negative is I have deposits listed at the bottom of the page that have not been receipted in yet due to me being away and now Virginia's away, so that I can get that reconciled. So the ending balance on the Athena account is actually around 4,700. Yeah. And then just for your information, we have a money market at Bank of Eastern Oregon where I have road funds, and that earns the road department 5.2%. The bulk of our money is in the local government investment pool, which is at 5.2%. And we also have the safekeeping is a bond with road operating reserve funds, and the yield on that is 4.72. So when it was purchased, that rate was higher than what the pool is now. And so I'm toying with the idea of if I just leave money in the pool because it yields usually the highest and we have the easiest access to it.
are these rates reflective of what the current loan rates and everything are, savings rates in commercial, set by the
FDIC.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. I mean, so
so a year or two ago, these rates were lower.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I've been in this
They were
position where
under
rates at the pool have been down to like 0.35%. So this is actually, I mean, I think departments will notice when they get, the interest income. This last year has been phenomenal.
Yeah. But they're not fixed as in purchasing a bond or a CD or something. They're not fixed for a certain period of time. They're fluctuating
Yes,
based on
the
the
money
market.
market and the LGIP are, they would fluctuate.
But the safekeeping, is it locked in?
It's locked in. And that's kind of it in a nutshell, and I will send out month-end reports sometime next week, with actuals, but that's pretty close.
Thank you.
So as far as our, revenue that we've received from the taxes, we've been made aware that there is an outlying tax account, for 2 years in a row now. And so despite that, these are actual numbers that we do have. And so if that revenue were to come in, it would change this quite a bit.
Yes, but this is for the end of June, so if that individual were to pay taxes, it would come in another month in the next coming year. That may be a conversation to have with Corey and Karen, because Corey told me that they were having a meeting with that individual.
Okay.
So I haven't heard the outcome of that,
Okay.
but fingers crossed.
Yeah,
that
we'll check in with them.
But that would affect this fiscal year's.
It would have, no, I mean, this is our total for this year.
For
If
what?
those taxes
For
get
actual.
paid, we'll receive it in this fiscal year.
That's what I mean for the current.
Oh, yeah,
fiscal.
yeah, current year,
24.
current year, last year, yeah.
Okay, just trying to
But
make
it's,
sure that we.
July 3rd, we're in.
I
we're in
know.
Current
we
year
just-
now.
Anyway, any other questions?
Oh, appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The estimate. Treasurer Heaney has been a big help in the last couple of years in preparing the budget and helping me as the budget officer prepare the budget and work through that whole process. Figuring out the general fund is a big fund that has a lot of moving parts in it, obviously. And, the estimate of 1,130,000 came from Treasurer Heaney and her scrutinizing and looking through where she thought it would be. So that, being that close, the $47,000 is due to her calculation. So,
That's really good.
the budget is a best guess scenario thing. They're prepared as an estimate. So she estimated pretty good. All right, next up, unless there's any other comments or.
No, I
For
just, I
Karen?
appreciate all that goes into her job, and she does a good job.
Next topic is a department update from the county clerk, Clerk Robinson.
Good morning, thanks, guys. Yeah, I want to echo that. I think that says a lot about her abilities and knowledge about what goes on in those line items. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's impressive that she can take that on and know what looks right and what doesn't look right. And so,
Yeah.
that's a testament to your knowledge of that. So it's really important. A little bit going on in the clerk's office. We had a successful primary election. Went off without a hitch, which is always a great thing. I like to not have any hitches in elections, so this was another one without a hitch. We certified the election on June 12th, and then we did a hand recount, statutory hand recount. 3% of the ballots cast for a variety of offices. One was the county commissioner's race. It was the one that had the closest race. Not a single change in any votes from what the tally system said and what the hand count was, which in my mind speaks volumes about the tally systems that we use. They're safe, secure, and they are incredibly accurate. So that's really good to know. We hear a lot across the country about folks wanting to move to hand counts. That is a disastrous idea, and I take that very seriously. A lot of the Northern California counties are wanting to do hand counts. There's a county in Nevada that did one, they had 974 ballots, and it took them 7 hours to do that. So if you take on a large election with multiple races, just in our election, we had a really low turnout in this primary. There are 65,000 votes to count. If you take into consideration all of the races and all the possibilities, that's 65,000 tallies that a small board would have to say, look at and tally. So we're just us. So that it's a lot to consider, and they're not accurate. When you get human fingers in the middle of that, that's when you have the error. So it's a testament to our tally system that does a really good job. The November fifth general election is upon us, of course, so it's filing season. The deadline to file, is August 27th for candidates, and we have candidates for Soil and Water Conservation District. And then the city of Burns and Hines have, mayoral and city council races, two council races and two mayoral races, so, we still have time for that. There's a ballot measure deadline of August 16th for any, districts that are, any tax or governing bodies that want to refer something to the ballot. August 15th would be the day to do that, August 16th. And then that starts the period, the challenge period for whatever the text of the ballot measure might be, so that window of time sneaks upon us. It starts pretty early because it has to be done late in August in order to make the challenge period. The Oregon clerks are working in conjunction with the Secretary of State are working through the implementation of Orbis. It's Oregon's voter registration and information system. It modernizes our current voter registration and centralized election management system. It is a legacy system. We literally built it from the ground up in 2003. So we're modernizing it with the latest and greatest technologies, and it's just time to upgrade it. So I'm on the executive steering committee for that project. The legislature funded it at about $10 million, and we've been working through that. And it's an incredibly technical, complex process to create a system that has to work for a variety of kinds of elections. So right now, our plan is to implement it in February of 25 for the special district election in 25. But in the testing, there's some things in it that are not quite designed for a special district election. So they didn't understand that we needed splits in that. And a split is you take the board for, say, education service districts. Well, those are elected by zone. So you have to set up a system in there in which you can change ballot styles within a precinct, within a school district, but they're different other than the other ballots. So there's a lot of technical complex design in that software to make sure everybody gets the right ballot. So that's what the design is. That's where the phase we're in right now. Property Values Appeal Board. So as you know, the clerk manages that program, administers it. It used to be known as Board of Property Tax Appeals. The legislature, along with a recommendation from the Clerks Association, bill we introduced to change the name of that board to the Property Values Appeal Board, because it was misunderstood that you were actually appealing taxes, and you're not appealing taxes, you're appealing the value of your property that is given by the assessor's office. So the legislature changed the name of that board, and so we're revamping all the forms and filing forms and all the documentation to reflect the new name of the board. You all will appoint a pool of members to that board in September. And then the clerk by statute appoints the board to oversee those hearings. So of which you are all members. So we have an office holders pool and a non-office member pool. So of those will create boards. So those filing period would begin as soon as tax statements go out. So you'll be hearing more about that as we go into September. The shopping cart feature on our website, so on the reporting website, Helion is still working on designing a shopping cart feature where folks can go onto our website, search for a document, pay for a copy of it with a credit card, and then receive that directly to them. So there are plenty of security measures built into that system that Helion is working on for us. They will also be able to order a certified copy of the document, which takes a hand process for us, so, but they would be able to pay for it online, and then we could send that to them without them having to come in the office. So that's a new feature to help improve some customer service processes.
And when might that?
Through, I can't speak for the vendor, but they tell me hopefully by end of year. So that piece is built now, and so we just have to get it set up on our end with a lot of we have to organize with our software, credit card processor, and they have to do that in conjunction with them. So as soon as the two of them can work out all the kinks together, then we're doing that. So we're on the list of counties that are accomplishing that. So I think I'm about 7 or 8 down the line, so, but we're getting closer, so we're right there.
What kind of services will people be able to do remotely that way?
Really obtain a copy of their documents, so when folks come in looking for, I need a copy of a deed, or a copy of my car return, or a copy of my trust deed, or a document that shows I paid off my mortgage, they can find it and then get a copy of it. So currently, you can't just look up something and see the image, and that's a security measure that I put in place. I don't want to have anyone's signatures or their actual images of their documents online. The index is available, so you can look at it and see what you're looking for, and then say, well, this is the document I'm looking for. Then with this new system, you'll be able to pay for a copy of it and then actually receive a copy of it. So all the documents that we have in the recording system are public, but I like to keep them as secure as possible without, I take into consideration this new era of deep fraud. There's been some examples of that, and so we have to figure out that balance between what is a public record, yet safeguarding it for those that it actually belongs to. So there's a fine balance there. We're trying to achieve that. Along with that, and I've mentioned it to you guys before, we are instituting a program to where folks can sign up with an email address with a list of names, and then anytime something is recorded with their name on it, or the list of names that they give us, they would get an email notification. So that's one step in prevention of at least safeguarding that, so that there's an ability to know if something is recorded with your name on it unbeknownst to you. So that's a goal, and it's gonna happen, I think, about the same time that shopping cart features, they're going hand in hand with that. So, but as soon as that comes into play, I'll be sure to let you know. I continue to work as treasurer and legislative chair for the Oregon Association of County Clerks. I met yesterday with Representative Zach Hudson from the Troutdale area. He had asked for some legislation that each county provide a voter's pamphlet. And so there's only 9 counties in the state that actually produce a voter's pamphlet outside of the state voter's pamphlet. Most of them actually inserted into the middle of the state voter's pamphlet. Most of the rural counties have never created a voter's pamphlet because of the cost. It is incredibly cost prohibitive for us to do it. It generally costs more than conducting the full election. You would have to create a person to edit those, put it together. It's an entirely separate process from running the election, as managing this campaign propaganda document that now you're putting out. So we met with him yesterday. He's still interested in pursuing something like that. And as county clerks, we agree that we get complaints all the time during the special district elections that we don't know who these candidates are. And a candidate for a school board, I've never seen their name. I don't know who they are and what they stand for. And so I understand that. The best thing that we've been able to accomplish is to put their final documents online like we have before, and that is, it's helpful. It's not perfect, but it's helpful. We suggested to Representative Hudson yesterday that rather than put this as a burden on the county general funds to create a voter's pamphlet, that we expand what's able to be put into the state voter's pamphlet, because right now there's a limit as to who can go into the state pamphlet. And he was very open to that. I said it would take the burden off of us staff-wise, it would take the burden off of us cost-wise. And so he was open to pursuing that. So myself and Michelle Long from Klamath County are gonna work on a work group with him to kind of guide him in that direction, and he was open to that. So that was a win yesterday, and so I'm hoping that that's a cost savings to the county. As you know, I'm also elected chairman of the Standards Board for the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission. That is a job that I'm honored to do. It was a new task that was bestowed upon me, and I'm proud to represent Oregon nationally on that board and to chair it. I think it's very, very important what the EAC is doing right now. They are certifying tally and voting systems. The Standards Board actually works with the test laboratories to create the standards for those certified systems. So it adds a little bit of security in my mind that we're there kind of keeping an eye on what's being certified, and that those tallies, the testing systems or the testing labs are are certified themselves and that they know what they're doing. We're actually creating standards for them. So I think it's invaluable that we're there. Just this week, my colleague from Jackson County, Chris Walker, the clerk there, was elected secretary to the Board of Advisors for the EAC, which is another one of their advisory boards that are, it's a smaller member board, but it's just another example of Oregon local elections folks having a place at the national level to make sure things are done the way they should. I'm pretty proud of that. Here in the office, I'd still like to do some security measures and some renovations with some of the security dollars we got from the state. With the counter, as I said, I don't have a lot of concerns about security of our people here. I know our voters, I know our citizens. I know how we all behave. We're statesmen-like, and I never have any concerns about what can happen in my office. I just think I'd like to modernize the front of it and prepare for something and be prepared if we ever have to do that. I don't, you know, I was brought up to have that amount of faith in mankind that we don't have to put up bulletproof glass, and I never want to see that happen in my office. It's not something that I ever think needs to happen here. So, but I would like to see us move forward with some of those renovations if possible. When we did that last time, we couldn't get a bid, so, and it's a time crunch is when we can accomplish that, and we kind of held off, not knowing for sure what we were doing for space in this building anyway, and I didn't want to see us spend any money frivolously that we would not necessarily need to do if we change something at the end anyway. So, we're perfectly content with what we have, it works, but it's just always in the back of my mind that I like it. So, you guys have any questions? Happy to answer those or share any more insight.
I think you covered it pretty good. No questions here.
Thank you all.
We appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, just to toot our own horn, we did have one of the better turnouts for a county in the election
Yes.
statewide, so.
We did. As low as it was, we still had one of the highest turnouts.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't surprise me for a primary election. Primaries are always really, really low. Because they're nominating elections, so. But the general, I know will be different, and it should be. Harney County is known for being at the top of the list for turnout, so I'm hoping for 90%. There's no reason not to have that in a presidential level.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Next up, late items. Do we have any late items for the agenda today?
I do not.
No, I would just in the future like to have, if you agree, the late items, agenda approval and minutes before like number 2.
Yeah.
Cause it only takes a few minutes to get that out of the.
So moving on then, agenda approval. A motion to approve today's agenda.
I move to approve today's Harney County Court meeting agenda.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda for today's county court session, Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic, minutes approval. Minutes approval for regular county court session on June 20th, 24 first.
Has everybody had a chance to look over? I move to approve Harney County Court meeting minutes from the regular court meeting on June 20th, 2024.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded to approve regular county court session minutes from June 20th, 2024. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And then minutes approval for county court work session on June 27th, 2024.
and I was not present for that meeting, so I will not be weighing in on it.
I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes for a work session that was held on June 27th, 2024.
I'll second. And a motion has been made and seconded to approve the county court work session minutes from June 27th, 2024. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. All opposed? Signify by saying aye, or I already did that. All opposed, not hearing any, motion carries. Next up, opportunity for public comment. If you'd like to address the court, please do. State your name first and your comments.
Please go, do I need to stand?
You can stand or sit either way.
My name is Kelly Cox and, this is my husband, Ed Cox. We came here today and I'm, just to let you know, speech was my worst subject in school, so please bear with me. and I
Don't be
appreciate-
nervous.
I appreciate you guys giving me the time to talk, okay? I'm gonna breathe, okay? Said we came here today to try and save our neighborhood. We purchased property in the county exactly 3 years ago this month on Arthur Street. At that time, we didn't have any homeless or squatters on the street. We'd like to bring our RV over from the valley and stay a couple of weeks in the spring, and hopefully we can do that in the fall if nothing comes up. Last May, when we showed up, this was a year ago, showed up, first thing we noticed was a homeless camp had moved in on the property adjacent to us. When we went to the sheriff's department to inform them of this homeless camp, we were told that they already knew, everybody knows about it. We inquired about what could be done about it, and we were told that nothing could be done about it. When we got here this year, we noticed that the homeless camp, there was nobody there. And we've been here about 2 weeks and, except there were 2 RVs, some vehicles and a lot of other stuff, but next door to that homeless camp, there was a camp trailer with 3 barking dogs that probably bark about 8 hours a day and night, and a woman and man living there with all kinds of garbage everywhere, broken down cars on the premises with no power, water, or sewer, but a generator that runs all night. There's a single wide on this property that should be condemned by what we saw when the lady was one of the squatter showed us inside, because we asked about if they were the owners, which they weren't, and they told us that, well, the owner has allowed us to stay here and watch over his property. And so we said, well, is he willing to sell the property? And the reason we were inquiring about this is because we want to clean it up. And we would like to make our block like it was nice. We see people day and night coming and going from over there, in and out of the single wide, but nobody is living there. So, we don't know what's going on in there, but we kind of have our, opinion of what's going on. But we love our property and what we've done. In the last 2 years, we've improved it and we made it really nice for us to be there. We would love to put a home on there eventually, but we don't dare do it because of what is in our neighborhood. So that's why we're here today, and we would like to see if something can be done about it.
Have you had any conversations with the city of Burns?
Yes, we have. We've gone to, I called the police department probably about 5 times now because of the barking dogs, and, we had a camp trailer that showed up, the night before last, showed up at 9:30 at night. It took them about 5 minutes to disconnect, get out of there, and then the guy who basically was squatting there in that left, because he knew that there's probably gonna be not a confrontation from us, but I called the police department. That was probably my 5th call. I told him, I said, well, you're probably gonna recognize my voice because I'm not going to just put my head in the sand and not do anything about this. I'm gonna stay on top of it. And so, we've had the sheriff's department out there twice, and they have, they've been great. They've been very nice to us, and they were able to talk to the squatter that showed up night before last and told him that if this isn't out here by 10 o'clock last night, we're gonna have it towed today. Well, they showed up at 9:30 and they towed it away. Thank goodness. But that still does not address the squatter that is living there, and I guess they've been there for 8 months. It's just, it's a mess. It is a mess, and that single wide, I think it was probably a meth house. that needs to be condemned and tore down.
Just for, to clarify, I think Arthur Street there is in the county. is it
Yes,
not?
it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I would refer this to Judge Hart to work directly with the latest party to see what else could be done. We do have county ordinances that we'd improve to try to address issues like that would just need to be, engaged in further. And so those are things that, you know,
We really appreciate
if he could
it.
work with the judge, he could work on our ordinance side.
Yeah,
Greatly appreciate that.
make sure that I have a contact number for you. I don't
Okay.
want to put it out all over
Yeah.
our meeting minutes, but make sure I have a contact number for you, somehow today or whatever, so that I can stay in touch with you and we can work on it, okay?
Yes.
I talked to 3 other of the neighbors. One's in there, she couldn't be here today. The other one had open heart surgery 2 weeks ago, he had an appointment today. And the other guy had a knee surgery, and he had to replace his knee, he had an appointment at the same time, although there's been more. Dawn and Myrna, they're our neighbors,
Okay.
and they've all got concerns about the garbage, I got pictures to show you if you want to see them.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's, doesn't, we don't feel safe with that.
yes.
So you might want to get the contact information of the neighbors. that are
Yeah,
present.
another thing I'd like to bring up, before the homeless camp was there. I'm not saying we've had problem with theft because we lock everything up, but we know of others who have had problem with that. And I know it's on, you know, it's something that they're investigating right now, but, they haven't heard anything since November when it happened and. So it's, we don't. feel safe.
Give your name.
Myrna Arboleda, and this is my husband Don. And he probably can't hear a whole lot of what's being said here, but he was asleep one night because of the homeless camp there. It draws in drug people, and one person found his outdoor key. When my husband was asleep in the middle of the night, he snuck in and he took his wallet out of my husband's pocket, probably a foot from his head, stole a wallet. He stole probably $2,000. And my husband had worked very hard, got wood to earn that money. And because of the homeless camp there, this person was in the neighborhood. He knew my husband and he figured a way to get into the house, and he knew he was hard of hearing. And so he was able to come in and do that. And we don't need that kind of people there.
Was that, I mean, did you see the individual in the house? Was it reported to law enforcement?
We reported it, yes. We reported, I bet we've called 20 times about the dogs coming into our yards and pooping on our lawns, and one dog came to my yard and was barking aggressively. And we've had people coming up and down the alley, and we've reported this stuff many, many times. And they said, because we're in the county, we can't do anything for you.
Okay, which, and just for orientation, I'll look it up, but this property that we're talking about, is it right next door to your property?
Yeah, I can give you the address if you need it.
If you could, please.
It's 380 West Arthur Street. That's the one where the squatters
Squatters
are.
are now.
Yes,
The other one next to, we don't know the address, that's where the
yeah,
homeless camp was.
yeah.
And that guy died, so that's why they're not there.
But his brother inherited it. It's in probate right now. And that's another one, that we've inquired about also to clean it up.
So the squatters camp one was one more property down.
380 West Arthur,
380.
and yeah, that's the squatters, and then the homeless is right next door to them.
The west
Would be on
of,
the, yeah, west.
Okay,
And we did notice on that one, the same night that the camp trailer showed up, there's a van that, I guess it's a homeless lady. She stayed the night at the squatters, right there at the squatters, but now we've noticed that the van has now moved next door where the homeless camp was. So here we go again. Homeless.
all right, I'll make sure, I'll get in touch with you
Thank you.
and, I'll converse with the sheriff. Look at our ordinances and everything and see what we can,
Thank you.
see what we can do.
Well, that time, I was to Alamo long before you was.
Any further comments from the public? I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? for these people.
Appreciate you coming to us.
Any other public comment? No other public comment? Okay. Old business, last county court session, we had a fee schedule or policy from the sheriff's office, and we weren't sure about the fees on it and how they related to other fees. After researching it, other fees and these fees are, a lot of the fees are dictated by statute. So what the sheriff has here for his department reflects their statutes and reflects their requirements. So we can then, having verified that, approve this policy if we're ready to.
And it's my recollection that this policy had already been reviewed by our county council.
I recall, yes.
So there have been absolutely no changes since we reviewed it last time.
No, it's just a matter of looking at those
Determining how they were.
fees and, yeah.
I think it's a very complete policy and I move to approve the Harney County.
It has a policy number.
Let me get back up to it. My computer's going crazy here. I move to approve policy number HCJ 003, the Jail Administration Management Records Management.
Second.
A motion has been made to approve policy number HCJ 003, Jail Administration Management Records Management. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic up is under new business, is planning commission appointments. Director McMullen, do you have any appointments for us?
Yeah, well, so, a little bit of background, the planning commission is, comprised of 7 positions that represent general geographic areas of the county. And we have one position that's totally vacant. And it's been that way for a little bit. I'm in the middle of phone calls trying to reach out and maybe recruit a little bit there, but always open the suggestion for having conversations with folks. However, for today, there are 2 positions that were up for reappointment. And they were the positions held by Barbara Arnold and Norm Clark, both from the Druzy Pine Creek area. They have both submitted letters for interest to be reappointed for new terms. Suggest to stagger these out so that we don't have a brand new reappointment for every single commissioner every other year. That we look at this term to be one for 3 years instead of 4, as it's been a year since we've tried to get these reappointments done for them. So if in the motion, if the court agrees to it, I'd like to suggest that these terms be for 3 years.
As a 3 years from the time of appointment?
Correct.
From to,
Yeah.
from today.
Now, did they complete 4-year terms already?
Correct.
And about a year ago that they completed it? Are we just running behind on?
We're behind a year on these folks.
Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna see me again on this here in about a month or so, as I've got Vern Brown's position will also be up for reappointment this year.
I would just ask, well, you can do that one if you want, but I was wondering, what is the other open position? What is the geographic area for that one?
Well,
South End one, is it?
what's that?
Is it the South End one?
Yeah, we lack representation in the South End, and that's been that's been the challenging part right there. The position doesn't have to be filled by someone in the South End, however, you'd like to have some representation there.
Do you allow commission commissioners, planning commissioners to attend by Zoom?
Yeah,
I mean, I just wondered if that would make it easier for someone from the south end to want to be on the commission. Not that they would always do that, but a lot of times, you know, just the distance and driving in the winter and various things are.
there is a preference with this planning commission, because we've had this discussion, you know, multiple times over the years, to have as much face-to-face contact with each other as we possibly can. And these folks travel from all over the county, but times do warrant
How long has this
Yeah.
one been vacant? That position?
a few years.
That's the only reason I'm asking is that it's been challenging to fill it.
Yeah.
And so that would be my, also, the official newspaper announcement is great. We also have a lot of people look at the county Facebook page and then people share from the county Facebook page and word gets out. A lot of times that is overlooked by people who may want to serve because they don't read the paper very much. Is that something you're willing to coordinate with
More than
Holly?
willing.
She does a
Yes.
great job getting that stuff out. I'd recommend do that.
Zero.
Yeah, that's a good resource to get the word out. So there could be applicants. Thank you.
If we're ready, I would move to approve Barbara Arnold as well as Norm Clark for planning commission 3-year terms.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Norm C. Clark and Barbara Arnold for a 3-year term of appointment to the Harney County Planning Commission. Any further comments, discussion,
Just reappointment.
reappointment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries.
And I know that Director McMullen's gonna soon get that page on our county website updated as far as when the terms expire, right?
It's right here. I'm anticipating that you are going to reappoint these individuals.
And if your person isn't trained enough to do it yet, Cindy Lofts does it within 24 hours.
All right. Next topic.
Is that all you had?
Would we want to move
That's all.
the IGA up just so that these gentlemen can get on their way?
Yeah, we'll do that. Let's move item C up. So then IGA between Harney County and Grant County. Did we decide whether we were gonna wait for Grant County?
No, so, morning. So we got this done, it's taken some work with me and Shannon and Audrey. I don't know if you guys had a chance to review it, I really like it, it's a good agreement, spells everything out really well, it's gonna be a real boon for our department. It's really gonna allow us to help Grant County out, provide better service, it's gonna provide more funding for our department, so we can grow. Hopefully another inspector with a level electrical certification, so that we can have all the services right here, in one, which would be very good. So-
Did you say Audrey out of our county council office, has she reviewed this?
Yes,
Okay.
she helped work on this and, we've had to spend a little bit of time, doing it, but it's, the only thing that I would point out on it is there is a place where, there's a blank spot for a starting date. We didn't put anything in there because we can't exactly know that for sure, but, all of you will sign a date, you know, as commissioners on the back page. So we didn't really see that as an issue. we can just add that in, and provide you guys with, that date when we get closer. This will be going before the Grant County, County Court on the 17th. So if we're able to sign this and agree to this, we can always send them a signed copy up. And then that should get us going, well, by August 1st, at least is my plan.
I would propose to table.
Like, come from over there.
I would
Cell
propose
phones
to
off.
table this until Grant County has signed it and gets the signed copy back to us, and then as soon as we sign it, that becomes the effective date.
Okay, so this would be my only question. I think your next meeting is the 17th. Is that when your next?
Yeah,
So that could potentially push us.
yeah, so if we signed it and then they signed on the 17th, it'd be complete as of the 17th.
That was my thought, yeah. And I'm, whatever you guys want to do,
Comfortable
I
with
just,
signing it now, and then if Grant County had any adjustments, they could let us know, and we could
Yeah.
always hold a special meeting to deal with that if needed.
and this was done with Shannon and I did most of this together. It's vastly different from when I first put it together because she had questions and concerns, and so we let Audrey figure this up. So we both had input on it.
Do you have any idea if Shannon has been, for, letting her county court members up there, I mean, is this gonna be brand new to them on the
No.
17th or they're, okay?
No, and so, was sent to them, to look at, and, she was actually hoping to get it on for today, but she didn't have time. And so, there has been discussion, and then, we had limited discussion about, some of the money and things like that when I went up there and went before county court work session. So there's a pretty good understanding, and they're very positive about this moving forward. It's something that I don't think we're gonna have any problem getting signed up.
I'm comfortable as is Commissioner Shaman with
And,
signing it today.
and executing it today.
Mhm. Especially where there's been work sessions held with the court up there, and,
If
they're very.
there's a
very-
glitch, it just won't
Yes.
get signed by them and start over.
Well, then I wanna, do you have the Word copy on this? Then,
So we could
let's make
put
it
the-
effective then, the 17th of July.
July 17th.
And then, we then can forward our signed copy to them, and then that way they'll sign this copy,
Yep.
that one, and,
That was my thought.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that amendment then as being effective date under, paragraph 2. I think this on, good work. This is good. It'll serve both of our communities, both of our counties. And work towards our goal of the one-stop shop for building permits and inspections and planning and all those entities in there. So, thank you, gentlemen.
And I think it creates a bridge, like we have with Klamath. I think it creates a good bridge with Grant County as a partnership, eastern northern communities doing this stuff together. And I know the Klamath County Commissioners have talked about it a lot. It's been in the newspaper there. This stuff's important. And the further we get into the technologies that we use to do the work that we do, the easier it becomes to not have to be in Klamath County. I did just recently, I did a plan reviews for Klamath County last month. I think we're under $1,000 in money we brought in from doing work in a place not there, doing it virtually. And so that works out well. And it's just gonna get easier and easier to go along.
Yeah, some regional capacity.
Exactly.
And in the long run, I see what we're doing here, what you're doing, as an economic development step in the fact that time is money.
Yes.
Contractors' times are money. And being able to turn around permits faster, inspections faster, allows those entities to get their work done faster. The end customer gets their business or home or whatever, open faster. So, and hopefully in the long run, Harney County will see some economic growth. And you'll play a part in that with this process, with these,
Absolutely.
abilities.
And we are using virtual inspections. I'd like to come and keep saying that in these meetings because I want, it's an education thing for us, for people to know that when they need permit or they need inspections, that we can do them virtually. We do not have to drive to the South County to look at something unless it's an important life and safety issue that we really want to put our eyes on. The small stuff, the easy stuff, water heaters, water lines, sewer lines, there's a lot of inspections that we can do virtually and save the homeowner time, save contractors time, and save ourselves travel time, fuel, wear and tear on vehicles, and all that stuff. All those little things lead us to being much more self-sufficient and working within a budget that we can build reserves. And it's all good stuff. So it's,
All right, then I will entertain a motion for approval of this intergovernmental agreement with Grant County.
I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Grant County effective July 17th.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the intergovernmental agreement before us now for building department services between Harney County and Grant County with an effective start date of July 17th, 2024. Any further discussion?
Well, I think I know the answer, but I still thought I would ask, do we have any type of numbering on our IGAs and documents of this nature?
Not on, we don't have anything on IGAs, no.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, a motion carries. And we shall sign it dated this third day of,
Do you anticipate any reason that any of us should call the county court members up there to discuss, or is it all?
no, I don't. I don't think it hurts to
can you reprint that
Have
last page
those-
for me?
communications, you know, I think that's good.
She's already, yeah, she already,
I talked with all
she'd already
three.
filled it in down here.
when I was up
Oh, you
there.
did, okay.
Yeah, and I am also, I'm going up for a, radio show next Thursday, so I'm gonna be up with Shannon and we're gonna be doing a radio show
Oh,
at 8:30, a coffee show of some sort.
good.
And we're gonna be talking about this and promoting it in Grant County, things that we're gonna do, and just kind of,
Have you been on Harney County Live yet?
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
He can once this is.
what's that?
So once this is, in motion, then it gives you some more talking points.
Yes, yeah,
This is a big step for us.
It's huge.
Yeah. This is a big deal. This is a goal we've had in our department for quite some time. We knew we could take it on when we had the right personnel.
Hey,
And
print the whole thing.
For my part, I can tell you that Rick has really gone after this hard. He's done a great job with communication and relationship building with Grant County.
I'm impressed with how quickly you've been able to do it, and I really appreciate it. I think it's just a win-win.
well, to be honest with you, we gotta put a lot of it on Jesse's hand. Because Jesse has blazed the trail with many counties
Yes.
in Eastern Oregon. She really has, and so, that, we gotta put a lot of them, so.
Great.
Yes.
No, appreciate your time today, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter.
Oh,
The 7th,
Do you need to change that? to 17?
I thought that's what you just asked me to do.
No, I just asked you to reprint it
He
because I
put
had,
the third up
I
here.
wrote up at the
It
top
would be the 7th.
where Grant County's was.
Okay, so now I'm super confused.
Okay, just change this back to the 3rd
Okay,
and then just reprint it. Because I had it inadvertently written up here,
Oh, okay.
so I just
Holly, had
needed
you
a fresh
put, had
copy.
you put the date of the 17th earlier in the document? Holly?
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. I
Yeah, we
just
got
didn't
that.
lay eyes on it, so I
Got
just
that.
wanted to begin. The love life experience, these things happen.
You have dates in
You know.
multiple places in the document.
Let's try this.
The daylight today, that matters.
Thank you, sorry for the
No,
confusion.
it's totally good.
Then we can scan and send. Breath County. All right, next topic is application for approval to install culvert. And an approach, is it a culvert or is it the approach?
It's the approach.
The approach, okay. There is an application for approval to install an approach from a county road. From Cassie Ogden of Gresham, Oregon. Attached a map.
The third page is a better map. It shows the old county right of way and she's just basically. She has to prove that she has legal access to her property so she can put improvements on the property. Via the planning department. So there's an old county right of way that runs through her property. There's also McKenna Road that runs through her property. But McKenna Road isn't an official right of way.
Okay, I wondered on
road.
that.
So, so she does have, legal access through that old county right of way, but she'll probably, in the long run, when she makes the egress, it'll probably be off of McKenna Road, but, she can't list that to actually move ahead. So it's going on the old county right of way, which again is just basically sagebrush. So, but it is a right of way.
Is the highlighted, the yellow highlighted property, is that the property in question?
Yes, yes, it is.
And then the highlighted road, that's the,
Dotted kind of, I think it's red.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
On that first page, where it says the location, it says see attached map, which it's great to attach a map, but in the event that documents are separated, et cetera, it seems like it would be good to have at least that little bit of exact location on that first line. I believe most of the time they have it on there when we see these.
And most of the time, people are, physically walking up to the desk and doing this was all, I wouldn't know her if she walked in the room. So again, it was all done electronically. So, but next time I'll request that.
Do you think we can add it to the handwrite edit, whatever, to this document?
To make reference with just like the actual,
The line in the doc,
no, I understand that, but how do you want to make reference to that
the
piece of
legal
property?
description,
Okay.
that's what that usually sees. Tax law, blah, blah, whatever it is. I would feel more comfortable signing it that way.
So are there any improvements on that property?
Existing, no, there is not.
If you could,
What are you thinking?
Roadmaster, Michelle. If you could, just real quick, like, if you could point this out to me. So it looks to me on their map.
Yeah,
This is
and
their
that's-
property. Are they wanting to go like straight
No,
down
no,
or?
no, they're not. And again, that'll be between them and the other people, but you know, for her to do it legally, if she attaches to
I knew
this,
there was
she's gonna
something
be
like
doing
that, but I
this and
didn't.
that. To be honest with you, she'd probably be doing that because it's improved, but you know, this portion is not improved, but it does officially give her legal access. And that's what she's trying to request.
Life is not fair.
And there is an old two track that actually runs
When I heard.
off of the county road right here. This portion is not improved, but this portion is.
So where are they coming from? Are they coming from this property?
No, they're coming from this property here. She just needs to be able to say she has legal access to her property, which she does. She'll get onto that road right there. It's on that property
Here to
line.
here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Just making sure I'm in the right, on the same page there. All right,
I would like to get that legal description just added on prior to signature. That's something Tammy could look up.
well, a legal description is gonna fill this up.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I just think.
I've never
saying
had a
attached
legal
map
description
is-
on there. They're basically said off of a certain county road. And then they would actually identify where they're wanting that to be put on, so you know, I
I
could look
think-
up historically what that old county right of way is.
Whatever's appropriate. I
Okay.
just think, to just say, see attached map, and on that document itself, and then it's the attachments, it doesn't really identify it. I think we need a little more. Is that gonna be hard to do?
Could we list the old county right away
Yeah, and I'll have to do some
on
research.
that section line?
Is
maybe?
this time
I'll have to do
sensitive?
some research to find out exactly what that old county right of way is, just because like I said, as of right now, it sagebrush.
And you said the McCannon Road is not a listed road.
It's not, according to the planning department, is not, it's a private road. Basically is what it is.
Does it cross, it currently crosses
Her
this
property
individual's
and other
property?
properties, yeah. And people use it to access their property right now on a daily basis.
Hmm.
So that could be eventually a nightmare in itself, but,
Right,
so.
that's where I'm going.
What is, I can't make it out in the print. What is this road that
00,
that's the 00 road?
that's the 00 road. It's north of the 00 road. And that's the county road that, you know, of course, is used now.
Yeah, I think,
I mean, on this.
at least a description of, I mean, there's nothing on here that says what county road that it's.
This form says on it, give exact location to. No, I don't have my glasses on, give exact location to feet nearest closest survey point. I mean, it has some guidance on what you're looking for on this form. On this official
And
document.
typically, it's like a mile post approximate off a certain county road. And
It
then
sounds
they'll
like that's
list
what
that
they're
county
looking
road. But
for.
this one, again, it's historic and it's not, you know, I'll go back and see if there actually is a official name of that old county right of way. It may not be listed as a name, but we'll see.
I guess I have some discomfort in approving this just because, as you said, it may be a county right of way, but it's not a usable county right of way. And so she couldn't just go drive down that county right of way as though it's a road currently.
She could not unless she decides to improve it.
She would have to make improvements.
But again, if that proves that she has legal access, even though it's not improved and she may not use it, it's still listed, I mean, and again, I mean, she may or may not use that, but she still has a way to either enter or exit her property via a county right of way.
An unimproved.
An unimproved county, it doesn't matter if it's unimproved or not. As long as she can prove that that's a county right of way to be able to get in and out of. That's, you know, that's all that I look at. You know, whether she'll go, you know, and use McKenna Road like everybody else, I don't know that. That would be the easiest and the less expensive way to do it, is to get from her property that McKenna Road goes through her property, would be the less expensive way to do it. But I can't
She has
control
to
that.
drive across several neighbors to
Correct,
do that.
correct.
So for the applications, though, we're really only worried about the approach, where it approaches and connects to the county.
That is
road.
correct, that is correct. So if, just for an example, if she was to do improvements on that property and she needed to have loan documents, that lending institution would require that she prove that she has legal access. Not that she's doing that, I'm just saying that's what she needs to prove. And that proves that with the old county right of way that is still registered in the either road document that we have, or road journal, or the commissioner's journal. And it's not vacated, so it is still there.
So with that county, with that right of way
Mhm.
for McKenna Road, there's already an approach authorization there. Is there not? Or could-
Well, I don't really think you need one, because it's a private road. But it does go through her property.
But it does go onto the 00 road, McCannon does.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But
I
it
mean,
does not
yeah,
have official approval to do so.
correct. So when people are looking at it as per the planning department or a lending institution or anybody else that's looking at documents, the McKenna Road does not fulfill that because it's a private road.
that
And
does-
either you're gonna have to get an easement officially, or whether she uses it or not. I mean, there's other people out there that use that road, and I'm sure they don't have easements on there. But again, that isn't our concern. It could be a civil concern, and you get a sheriff out there at some point in time, but it has not happened at this point in time. So, but that's out of my realm. My realm is the county right of way.
McKenna Road then does not have a recorded, approach. Previously approved.
You know, it could, I'd have to go back, it's before my time, McKenna Road's been there a long time, so, and again, a lot of approaches before I came on, that really wasn't a requirement. They started that process probably just before I started, so we knew who and you know, what was getting connected to a county road.
So what would
So
that
there's county roads, I
require?
mean, there's approaches all over the county where it
But-
ties into a county road that we have no
Official
documentation,
approval
yeah.
for-
So, it was before my time, they use it, it's, you know, McKenna Road is, like I said, been there a long time.
I would agree too, after discussion, I would agree that I'd like to have some kind of a description as to exactly at what point we're authorizing this approach.
Okay.
And that really could be a matter of a GPS coordinate. I think would be sufficient, just a GPS coordinate on the 00 road, an approach at this point.
Just feels awkward.
Well, it wouldn't
that
be on the
we're-
00 road.
No, because it's the
'Cause it's not, it's-
unimproved right of way that she's wanting us to approve. Which comes into the corner of her property. There's an unimproved county right of way that only runs to the corner of the property, correct?
It runs to the east boundary,
Yes, but just to that corner.
to that southeast corner, and
So
then it
does it
goes
go
east
on-
and west.
So all that is
So I guess, so
the,
then that's what I'm asking is
Unimproved
what
county
road
right.
are we authorizing an approach?
And
to?
again, like I
The
indicated,
unimproved.
I'll do some research. I'm not sure that, you know, it could have been one that was established back in 1890. And it was a group of individuals that came in and asked the county court to make it, or have the surveyor go out there and make it a county road. That doesn't mean it's listed as a county road, but it could be. I'd have to go back in road documents to find out what exactly that is.
Cause then that would, I mean, if they would have, made the improvements to that instead of just creating the private road, it would actually tie back to the double O road. Further over, but as is, they've just cut across country with a private road.
That, yeah, I mean, again, it's not documented in any of the road documents that I have as far as McKenna Road. It's,
I would like to table this and have a little more thought around it prior to approval.
okay,
Is McKenna Road, I'm sorry if this has been asked, but I'm just trying to get my head around this. Is McKenna Road itself, is it an authorized
No,
road?
it's not anything that, now again, I haven't gone back and looked at deeds, so there could be easements that run across there, and that's, again, that's out of the realm of me. I mean, if there's easements going across a piece of property that's on a deed, that's, you know, that's not me.
that's
So-
her job to.
Yeah, that's their job.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that she'll have legal access
Well, I guess what I'm trying
at
to
some
do.
point, so I can actually ask her what point, at one location on that old county right of way, she's specifically
Looking to tie.
wanting to hook to, and I'll put that on that document, and then I'll look and see if that old county right of way is listed as a name.
Okay.
Cause I just don't have, I don't show anything at this point in time, but I haven't dug that either.
Yeah, I think that would be good to do just a little more, even on her part of what she's actually planning on doing, because, I mean, there is a point where McCannon Road crosses that could be the point where she's hooking in.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a logical place that she could put that.
It'd be the
that
most
we would
cost-effective way, but.
Put it into the document,
Yeah, but so for
she
my
would need to
clarity,
Provide that, though.
for my clarity, an approach connecting to blank road at blank point.
Okay,
Yeah, she needs to provide what
That's-
she's asking you to
Yeah.
provide a specific point. And that's what you're approving, is that specific point that she needs to provide to you.
great. And again, in any other specific documentation that we typically do, it's an improved county road
Well, and.
at a specific
Right,
point,
that's
and
where
so
this
it's a
one's
mile
little
point
different.
that I go out and visually look, but again, after looking at it at this point in time, it's sagebrush. She can improve it any way she wants, but it's not something we're gonna maintain, and it doesn't mean that we'll have to maintain it in the future. I mean, there's a lot of county right of ways out there that are not maintained by us, so.
Well, I appreciate you, doing the additional work on this
No,
because as we all know, when things come before us, sometimes that weren't lined out very well before, it just creates a lot of challenge and we can do the best we can with this before
Sure.
we,
Sure.
vote on it.
Do you need this back?
Yep, I do.
Thanks, sir. Well, moving along, then the next topic is a resolution 2024-20. Resolution 2024-20 in the matter of discontinuation of mandatory meetings regarding Move Oregon Idaho border following the passage of Measure 13-26. So, background, Measure 13-26 was a measure passed by the Harney County voters to require mandatory 3 times a year meetings for the Move Oregon Idaho border. And they were 3 times a year on the 3rd Thursday or something along those lines. And that one Thursday ended up being like, or Wednesday, I guess it was not
Yeah.
Thursday, it was Wednesday. So it ended up being right before Thanksgiving in November is one of those dates that was selected. After consulting with the Oregon Idaho, Move the Oregon Idaho border movement and getting their okay, I guess, on removing that requirement. We put it on the ballot this last time around for Harney County voters to approve. The voters did pass that measure, and so therefore we no longer have to have those specific meetings on those specific days 3 times a year. And in its place, we'll have meetings regarding the topic during regular county court sessions as needed. So in this resolution, the county court of Harney County, state of Oregon, whereas measure 1326-26 concerning the adjustment of Oregon-Idaho border has been passed by the voters, and whereas prior to passage of measure 13-26, the county court was required to hold specific meetings to address the potential move of the Oregon-Idaho border. And whereas the passage of measure 13-26 renders the requirement for such specific meetings obsolete. Now therefore be it resolved by the county court of Harney County, state of Oregon, that.
Although the first whereas, we're talking about the measure that was passed by the people. But then here, the third whereas, it says the passage of measure, the same one that was passed by the voters, renders the requirement for such specific meetings obsolete. That's not a
Got a
true statement.
measure.
Yeah,
That should be what was on the current ballot.
Yeah,
correct.
that previous, the
correct.
previous ballot,
Yeah.
the initial one that was
I think I
passed
took before the
several
first
years
one.
ago.
Yeah, so it'd be this one that needs to change to what was on the May ballot. Do you know what was on?
No, I don't. I'll have
That
to,
would be a DAG question.
yeah,
And,
I'll have to research.
and the next date for the next required meeting is July 17th, is it?
So good thing we're.
So if we can get this squared away. Since the voters already voted.
So the voters already voted on it, and we decided that we would do this as a resolution just to highlight the fact that we're not
Yeah.
gonna have these meetings anymore.
Official.
So I think, well, let me keep reading, but this didn't jump out at me the first time I read it silently, but when Judge Hart was reading it out loud, I realized. So let's just look at it real quick.
Domingo has to have what that measure was.
What the original was, I've got the file in my office, but,
He would be able to access it.
Yeah.
If he should still be there.
so there's the initial ballot measure that was passed.
So right there, this needs to be what was on the May ballot.
On this last May. Okay, let me go check.
Should we take a short read?
We can do that, yes. Take a 5-minute. We'll be back at 11:35, 7 minutes.
Or just. Likely. The reason I'm talking about that is because it was supposed to do 5%. You know, when we were talking about.
Yeah.
All right, we're back in session. It's 11:35. So after speaking with the clerk, and the clerk had conversations with county council that I wasn't aware of, that we're gonna have to actually basically amend the original ordinance itself. And therefore, that might even just make this resolution obsolete, because the ordinance itself may take care of the issue. So I will coordinate with county council and find out exactly what we need to do to make this all work.
The amendment would, since I don't have it to look at, it isn't part of the packet, is it?
No,
Okay.
no, that's what
I
I'm
was
saying.
gonna say, I didn't see
we-
it.
I haven't had those discussions myself and didn't know that we were gonna need to,
Is that a draft amendment you're looking at?
no, this is the resolution.
Okay,
This that we have before us.
okay. Well, being that the next, yeah, just keep us informed, because if we have to pass it on the same day that we normally would have had that meeting.
It's already
you
been
know,
passed
I mean,
by the
By the
voters,
voters.
so it already
it's
has
already,
made it obsolete to
Okay.
have to meet on the
Okay.
Yeah.
17th. Then unless somebody asks for it to be on the agenda for the 17th, and we approve that ask.
okay. Sounds good.
So we shall table this topic and come back with guidance from county council and amendments to the ordinance at a later date.
Some of our best work results in tabling things.
Make sure it's right. Next topic then is resolution 2024-22. In the matter of interfund transfer of appropriations within categories for 911 dispatch fund 223. Now, this was, after the, or just before adoption, after approval and just before adoption. 911 came to me and asked, and I had sent an email out to everybody on the budget committee about making this change. Of moving $10,000 from the capital outlay line to the lease line. To pay some back lease fees that needed to be paid. It is what it is. I could have swore I did it, but when it got printed and we adopted it, it wasn't there. So here we are, the first resolution to move those funds.
Shoot.
Yeah. No big deal. We do it and it'll be taken care of. Being the third day of July 2024 and a day set aside for regular meeting of Harney County Court. And there being present Judge Hart, Judge William Hart, Commissioner Patty Doro, Commissioner Kristen Shellman, and whereas ORS 294-463 allows for transfers within given funds between appropriated categories, and whereas such transfer must be authorized by a resolution of the Harney County Court, and whereas the 911 dispatch must pay an outstanding debt in the amount of $10,000, whereas the outstanding debt is related to a lease rental expense. And that the ledger line is 223-5-02333320. Whereas the capital outlay line of 232-5-0234-402 has sufficient funds available. Now therefore be it resolved that the following category appropriations be adjusted as follows: capital outlay. Current balance of $655,000 will be decreased by $10,000, and materials and supplies where the lease line is located within. The current balance of $614,100 will be increased by $10,000. Any further discussion or questions?
Aren't those amounts for the capital outlay and material supplies, the amounts after the increase and decrease have happened?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I
that's how I
believe
wrote
they
that.
are.
That's how Bobby.
Before, the current balance is $655, isn't it?
No. It's 665.
It's $665, okay.
Yeah, so that's.
Higher, I thought it was $655. I thought I recalled that being the current balance. Okay, so that's what they'll be adjusted to then.
Yes.
Okay.
I move to approve resolution 2024-22 in the matter of intra-fund transfer of appropriations within categories for 911 dispatch fund 223 with a decrease of $10,000 in capital outlay and an increase of $10,000 in material and supplies.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 2024-22 in the matter of inter-fund transfer of appropriations within categories for 911 dispatch fund 223 as read. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic is correspondence. I don't have any. Do either of you have any correspondence?
I do not.
Okay. Then after that is, scheduled meetings. Make note of, and it's been advertised in the paper, but the upcoming August 7th, which is a month away, but, just to make sure that it's out there, is our public hearing for the library, fund, or not fund, but budget, basically, to assess, hear public comment and to assess and evaluate and review programs, budget, and staffing at the library.
So as part of that meeting, the things you just mentioned, the reviewing and assessing is gonna happen at that meeting, or is this a public hearing or both?
Well, like most of our public hearings that we have on last time, I think around when we had the road issues or whatever, whenever we have a public hearing, it's my intent to introduce initially those topics and what I've reviewed with the librarian, and then open it up for public comment.
Can you, there was a meeting yesterday I attended with, that was a library foundation and library advisory board, to talk about that meeting and they asked me for some clarification, if I could just email it to them. So could you repeat again what your intent?
Is to review, current budget, staffing and programs at the Harnett County Library,
So meaning
and.
you're gonna talk to it or,
Yes,
okay, and then to gather public comment. Okay. And that is at 11 o'clock during the conduct of a county court meeting on
Yes.
August 7th. And therefore they weren't familiar. And I said, when a public hearing is, scheduled and advertised at a certain time, then at that time in the county court meeting, then the judge will go ahead and open that public hearing at that time. And they just wondered what to expect in terms of their ability to, they and others to come and make public comment.
okay,
And at that point, would you just totally focus on that hearing at that time?
yes.
Okay.
So during the budget process and budget committee, meeting, when department budgets were discussed, the library budget was discussed, and doing some research and statute, there are specific statutes that govern libraries in the state of Oregon. And ORS 357.621 is public hearing required prior to abolishing or withdrawing support from public library. That's where this is coming from. So when
What's
we,
the legal definition of withdrawing support?
well, and I asked county council that if that meant total withdrawal of funding or,
To me, it'd be like abolishing or withdrawing support would be like a versus just adjusting a budget, but we're still supporting said
Yeah.
library.
so the opinion that was given to me by county council was that withdrawing support in the amount that would affect current services would fall under withdrawing. So if we're looking at FTE reduction or materials and supplies program, anything that would affect their current service level is the way I was just conveyed to me. So whatever that comes out to be, you know, whatever we look at and any determination or decisions that are made, whether that's a reduction in services or would affect reduction in services, then it would require this public comment. It's required to have 2 public hearings. 30 days after the advertisement, public notice in the newspaper, twice in the local newspaper, and then 90 days after that, a second public hearing.
And the folks at the meeting said, why is this happening now? And I just said, for, concerns by the county court to get conversations and processes out there early so that anything that ends up being a budgetary impact to our departments, to our services, to things which we see that may happen, and that's why we're concerned. It is to this, I said, the library special, it has this ORS, so we're doing this now. We're not gonna wait till after the first of the year when budgets are already well along the way. Not saying for sure, but if any personnel and staffing positions end up being, eliminated due to the budget's inability to sustain them, there's gonna be a lot of work and conversation and thinking on the county court all throughout the year. And we don't want to wait too long. We want to get these conversations so we can get information and input and things we can all consider. But I said, there's a serious need for us to do this across all departments, but in the case of the library, they have special rule to have these hearings, we're gonna have them. But they were alarmed, and I said, the last thing we want to do is have to make major decisions across county services a month before the budget gets passed. We want to get ahead of it so that whatever the budget officer presents to the budget committee has had a lot of thought and cooperative thinking in it. So not too many surprises to people in their lives.
And just that during this year's budget process cycle, looking at the departments and determining how much funds from the general fund are dedicated to each department. I researched the the departments and came up with a graph that shows that the public library is the sixth largest department receiving funds from the general fund. And while I do not at all say that the public library or Harney County Library does not provide a valuable service to Harney County, the people of Harney County, it's a matter of prioritizing the services and the funds that we have within the county. With the public library being at number 6 in the recipient of funds from the general fund, there are other mandated departments that receive less funding. The clerk's office, the juvenile department, our general fund reserve in and of itself and rebuilding that. Planning department, courthouse maintenance, HR, the treasurer's office, fair operations, which is a separate fund but receives funds from the general fund. And so forth. So I think it's a matter of prioritizing the resources, i.e. the funds that we have, and establishing priorities of where we want to put those funds at. And this is the process that we have to go through with the library in order to determine that.
Exactly. I think they felt targeted, etc. And I said, it's not, no, I said, everything is starting to be looked at and discussed in a methodical way. And I assured them that when we have work sessions and special sessions, they are public. They can come and listen. They can review them. They can play them on YouTube. They can read the minutes. And we're going to be totally transparent about our discussions and our approach. So.
Out of these discussions and out of this topic, we might find solutions even that we don't see today.
That's right.
So it's not a guillotine process. This is a process to find solutions and find, for all around, for the library itself and for the general fund itself.
And, you know, I mentioned that we have actually been kind of on this trajectory for a while. And all the departments have tightened their belt very much on the materials and supplies side for several years, you know, and we've kind of tightened that pretty tight to where not saying guillotine, but you know, we have to look at the resources we have and see how to pass a balanced budget.
The library's overall budget is over $400,000. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's over
421,000.
Is that
Something like that?
And then after any grants, money from the foundation, from the library foundation, then the actual burden on the general fund is about $307,000. So, you know, maybe we'll find out avenues or options for other grant funds or other operational processes that can reduce that amount. That is the intent, and I wanted to mention that under meetings that it's a month out, but want people to know and be aware of it.
No, I appreciate you being proactive in getting that scheduled. Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other meetings to note?
I was just looking at my calendar just to see if we're all, if anyone's gonna go to any of these. So July 11th, our Economic Development Director and the jail commander, et cetera, we're gonna have another session on trying to continue to move forward with jail planning, possibly even a trip to the Grant County Jail. Haven't heard any specifics, so that's July 11th. Don't have the time or specifics.
And I replied back that my schedule is open that day. I'm pretty wide open that day, so whatever they come up with.
Yeah,
I'm available that day.
I have quite a few other engagements, so
Okay.
depending on the time.
Okay, July 18th, there's a Eastern Oregon Counties Association meeting up for tomorrow up in that area. I will not be attending. I will try to zoom into the meeting part itself.
I will probably be in attendance for that. There's a legislative concept that we're going to reintroduce that was in the last long session that the NRAC had worked on with the Oregon Hunters Association. And so we will be working on that legislative concept and presenting it as we have kind of some legislative days at that EOCA meeting. And so that will be something. I
Right,
could
there's
be in
gonna be
person for.
a number of the legislators from the east side are gonna be there.
And I'm sorry, can you repeat what the name of that meeting was?
Eastern Oregon Counties Association, EOCA.
In the Port of Morrow is where it's gonna be located.
I
Or
won't
is
be,
that just where the field trip is? I don't even
no,
know.
that's where the meeting's at.
Okay.
I won't be able to attend. I have another obligation that day.
August 28th, we just all got emails today about Power Eastern Oregon. It's a one-day thing. I haven't looked at my calendar yet, but just putting that out there and then I know Judge Hart mentioned that since they're going to talk industries, if they could have a number of industry representatives there that might have some of whom might have some potential for, being a presence here in Harney County, it might be worth our while for one or two people to go to that.
I've been to it the last 2 years. There's good information that comes out in it. I find that a lot of what they talk about in economic development, a lot of times exceeds our capabilities, our capacity. And a lot of it is not directly geared towards Harney County or what could be, researched or sought after here in Harney County, so I'll probably go again, but it's in LeGrand itself this year.
Right.
Years past, it's been at Anthony Lake.
September 30th. Association of Oregon Counties, District 2, Harney County is in District 2. Meeting, it'll be in Lake County. It's a daytime meeting. Get up early, drive over, drive back after it's over. It's good if we could go. I'm gonna block it out for myself. Happy to have you guys with me, if you want. It's just a long day, but it's where our grouping of counties gets to dive a little deeper into some of the things legislatively that we care about and that, you know, when it's the main overall AOC steering committees, it's all the counties when it's our district. And then also if it has things that bother us or that we want to recommend or improve on AOC itself, that's a good venue for how to keep that a functioning organization.
With, on that note right there, it's been my view, my experience with AOC, that they tend to give a lot of lobbying support and, you know, legislative support. But I don't see much more beyond that.
That is their focus. That is their focus, in my opinion.
Is that their intent of the organization?
I don't know if that's their stated intent, but from the first time I started going in 2017, when it was a very different scenario, that was always, those steering committees met, they had 9 at the time, they met in blocks, and then the legislative committee itself, they get the things up from the steering committee, then they make a decision on behalf of the Association of Oregon Counties as to what positions they're gonna take or what they're gonna support or not, or stay neutral. And then the staff of AOC and then commissioners, as they are organized or decide to organize themselves, decide who's gonna appear here and there at the Hill and do all the advocacy. But so it's always been, the main thing has been the legislative sessions, to my knowledge. They provide, to some extent, you know, provide some resource if we have questions about historical things or what used to happen or what other counties should we contact about this or that. They used to do a lot of that. I don't see that happening so much anymore. They used to put out a salary survey, so to speak, for the elected officials that all the counties could look at, so you could kind of see. They haven't done that for a number of years. When COVID happened and when AOC had its own budget crisis, you know, some years back, and so it runs leaner than it used to, believe it or not.
My experience over the past year and a half would be nice to have, and I've called them and asked them several times on different topics, but to have more, administrative and operational support. Even in the processes of the, fairgrounds event center, the procurement, processes. But to have somebody, and our council, our county council fills a lot of that role. But, additional support in other areas beyond legislation would be nice to have, just in
That would be,
county government in general.
that would be the exact kind of thing at a district meeting too. They'll probably put out an email canvassing, does anyone have agenda items? I'm not sure if it's Commissioner Simulink or someone who's currently the chair of District Two. But, they put out, what do you want on the agenda? They have some boilerplate things that the AOC staff come and, give an update on and whatever, and then it's whatever we decide to discuss.
Just looking for resources of where to go to for guidance or suggestion or.
And they may say they don't have the capacity for that. They don't know, but that's good discussion because
And they don't have right now with the way they're geared right now. It's all geared towards legislative, development of legislative action and lobbying and representation.
And, AOC, when it advocates, lobbies and supports legislative initiatives, they do it on behalf of AOC, which represents 36, sometimes 35 counties, across Oregon. So that's the value of the United Voice. Anytime Harney County or any county perspective is different from the AOC official platform, we always have the right and will advocate on our own behalf. We don't have their resources, but we do not have to, I know Commissioner Shellman, has done more on the legislative, sessions, on testimony and stuff than I have. That's when the counties do their own thing. It's nice to have the regional support of the Eastern Oregon Counties Association. We tend to have more in common and more, some common goals, more than the AOC itself, but AOC does have some impact.
My 2 cents worth.
No, it's challenging at times to feel the value that we would hope, in different areas, and part of it is due to, the amount of coverage with the amount of bills that get dropped that AOC has to cover. If the state would somehow ratchet back the amount of bills that you have to sift through,
Yeah.
that sucks up so much capacity, within their staff, as well as the road side of it, that they also support, so they might not support the administrative side like we would like them to, especially in a county like ours, where, our administrative piece is tied into so many other roles. And so I don't feel like they fill that role at all, but they fill it in other ways. And part of it is just helping us get the bills in front of us that are ones that
true.
are going to make it into a committee that we will need to be keeping track of and weigh in on. Sometimes they're much more effective as others, since the committees no longer have to meet in person and there's so much of the virtual with the legislative session. It's been very challenging even for them to figure out how to engage with those committees in a more productive way. Because when everybody was in the building and you could have face-to-face, it was a much more effective form of communication. That's really changed, and they've had to find different avenues for making those same type of connections due to the committees not having to be in person.
Well, and originally, the first few years when I would go to AOC meetings, they didn't have virtual. And it was on a particular Monday every month. And I mean, it was definitely for Harney County, it was, you drive there the night before, you got meetings starting at either 7 or 8, depending on your committees. They go through to 4 or 5 PM, come home. But you're with people and you made connections, but also compared to those years, that many years ago, our state, our nation and our communities are divided in ways we never were before, and the legislation reflects that, and the power, the majority party, you know, flexes its power all the time, and so we're not as united as we were those years ago, unfortunately.
But I mean, it's one of those, if there's suggestions for places for them to, you know, either give additional support services or that, you know, that.
Well,
That's a good place to start, is in our district meetings to raise that.
yeah, and didn't they last year have the retreat along with the district meeting last year?
I think for District 2, but they have like 8 districts and those are all
Yeah,
separate
it was down
dates.
around Klamath Falls or something.
I went to that, yeah. They put like 3 meetings all together, you know, across 2 days, and it was a lot.
Any other meetings of note?
The Division 512 is still moving forward. There is now a groundwater report. This is the week where they're supposed to be reaching out to affected local governments. I have yet to see an email from him. He said it would be July 1st in my last correspondence with him. So once we get that, then that would be official correspondence, but they've just sent out that they're going to be notifying us. And so we do not have that official correspondence from them. I have engaged with Dominic on this, and so once he's able to read through the report, there are some concerns within the report that he would like to raise to us, and so once we've had that official engagement, we'll probably need to sit down in a work session where we can talk to him about some of the areas that we should raise in the public comment period. And just keep working toward that.
I was very pleased with Dominic at the recent Division 512 RAC meeting. I sat way in the back as a member of the public. And he was on Zoom and he zoomed in at the appropriate time for public comment. He asked some great questions. These are along the lines that I'm sure we'll be hearing from him. And I just emailed him right away and said, good job, you know, so he's on it. That's good.
Well, I was unable to attend because I was traveling that day, so I'd asked him to tune in my place.
He did.
So that he could
It was good.
keep track of what's going on. There's just a lot of nuances in some of the things that they brought up in the rulemaking process that we need to make sure are being done correctly, especially with Division 10 being under the new set of rules and the department still orienting themselves to that. Engagement with local governments is one place where they've had a lot of weakness. This report should have came out prior to now. And engagement should have occurred prior to now. And so making sure that we hold their feet to the fire in the type of engagement that occurs and that it's done properly, because it'll also occur throughout other jurisdictions and we wouldn't want them to, we're trying to set a good ground for other jurisdictions so that when interaction occurs, that it's done in a proper manner. So that's where the first one's out the gate. We're trying to keep the bar high.
What is your thought on what the engagement should look like?
I really think that Dominic will weigh in on that, as he has a lot of background with, legal matters in the water arena. The reservoir part is still a major concern with them indicating that they want to do a basin-wide critical groundwater area. That requires the reservoir to be basin-wide. And that is a challenging thought to get around. It's been one of our more contentious parts of the Division 512 rulemaking meeting where the members have really questioned that, and OWRD has pushed back that they feel like they have the data to support that, and we do not feel they have the data to support that. And so it's one of those, they're trying to use a blanket approach instead of a more targeted one because it saves them a lot of time, but it's not the proper approach when you cannot
You can't prove it.
So
I agree.
that's where there will be pushback on that arena. And he understands that language very well and will give us some advice.
Very good. And I I thought that the RAC members, you know, our fellow community members on the RAC did a good job of engaging in discussion.
Well, they're having additional meetings to try to make sure that they understand what's going on and trying to give, themselves, areas to get themselves educated in with voluntary agreements, and everything else. There's a lot of meetings outside the meetings where folks are trying to make sure that this RAC is able to have the most productive outcome possible. But it takes a lot of time and effort and volunteer, you know,
It
RAC
does.
members are volunteers from the community. And they're really bringing a lot of extra time to try to have a thoughtful process of how this is approached.
Well, it showed, I could tell, more of the ones that are usually silent said a thing or two that was,
They're getting more oriented to the
Good.
process all the time, but we do have concerns about the process not being a more collaborative process, and that's an area that Dominic also, potentially will weigh in on our behalf on that as well, so.
good.
Meetings? Anything else?
The Fair Board meeting needed to be rescheduled. We don't have a date set yet for knowing when everybody can be present. We didn't have enough people. Some got called out on parks room to everything else, so there wasn't enough to even have more than one present, so.
There wasn't a quorum.
Well, no, yeah, it didn't even come close to that, so, it'll be rescheduled once we have that date. They'll be put into the calendar.
How are the contractual things going?
It should be done this week, and then sent to Audrey for review. So we're just waiting for the, other firm that we engaged with that does the AIA contracting to finalize that and then be able to send it to Audrey and then see what her capacity is and her timeline, so we could be able to proceed.
Regular court dates, no changes.
You have the 25th where we're the host of SEAC,
25th of this month.
July.
I'm being game.
Yes, we are. Okay. Select July 25th. Regular county court dates, July 3rd and 17th. As normal, first and third Wednesday of the month.
In August 7th and 21st.
General deliberation. I'm just gonna, a couple of things I wanna throw out, or just brief, meeting yesterday with Biz Oregon and GEO DC representatives. They come around about once a month. They're always really good with information on the projects that we're working on. From the Justice Center to the B Street expansion to jail, and ideas and thoughts for trying to find funding, et cetera. The classification compensation study is underway. If I hadn't mentioned that before, I don't remember if I did or not, but that is underway. They're reviewing job descriptions right now. Ultimate culmination in that will be classification of positions and where they fit, you know, like positions and as far as responsibilities go. And then ultimately a compensation policy at the end of that as well. I have a meeting with the Small Business Development Corporation. I think what the C stood for.
I could be wrong.
Next week. See if they have any plans for Harney County as far as local representation goes. Monthly CRT meeting, I wasn't able to attend the last one, but I got an email from the director, economic development director, about moving it back to monthly meetings. You were there on that.
I did, I attended that. It was well attended and great meeting. A lot of discussion around the airport again and trying to figure out ways to support. There was some additional information given that I don't think that we fully understood, you know, even for the drone project, I still have my notes from it on my deal, but they still needed to come up with $127,000 match just to engage in the drone program. And so that's a, significant challenge when the airport's already so far underfunded. And so I don't know. And then another thing I asked her regarding that was, what's the commitment for the drone project? If you were to make that kind of investment into it, do you have a 30-year contract with them to make sure that you get your investment back? And there's very little answers around that part. And so I think that there's a lot of ideas, but I think that they could use some additional support of vetting some of those ideas and making sure that if investments are made, that there's, some long-term contractual agreements, unlike the BLM building, that should have never have been on a Burns City dime. That should have been done differently. There's a lot of things that have gone on that need some assistance and rectifying to make it flush and ever productive in a financial way. The aviation director, though, is scheduled to come down there and take a look at it, which I think that would be, one step in the right direction to get them on the ground at the facility and give some suggestions. Nobody wants to see it closed, but we definitely need to help the city of Burns figure out what role we can play as a county and in finding ways to make that a more successful entity. And some of it's just, engaging on that board, I think, more actively. And then, like I say, with the drone project, it sounds good, but there needs to be some further vetting of.
I wrote a letter of support for them when they were going for some of the congressionally directed funding. And I don't know, that's the last time I've had any involvement in that, so.
Yeah, without that type of help, to give that lift, they financially cannot do that lift of their own, so. And I don't know what came of that either. I assume that they were not successful, or else they wouldn't still need the match money.
Right.
So no, it was an excellent meeting and well attended though.
So, Greg mentioned about, there was comment or discussion about instead of doing it quarterly, doing it monthly, bringing it back to monthly.
Yeah, a lot of the folks, especially like with some of these issues where it kind of pulls some of the county and city chamber of commerce all into the same room to discuss these type of issues. A monthly one was kind of where folks felt that it needed to be in order to really make any progress with some of that.
There's a lot going on, even though
There was.
I mean,
was impressed
to
with what
coordinate
people had.
and keep talking about it.
Prior to changing it to quarterly, the attendance had dwindled down to 3 or 4 people showing up.
Mhm.
And so I figured at that time that maybe a quarterly meeting for people to get together and keep each other up to date. And I don't have a problem with monthly, if the attendance and the need is there.
Right.
Or, if not monthly, then maybe every other month or something like that.
Well, and I think they can kind of set it as needed, but if you at least start out with that monthly as the goal, then there might be months where there might be less follow-up in that month, could maybe be skipped, but with the level of topics that were brought, I think monthly would do a lot of good right now.
What is the next one? At this point?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll have
just
that.
that's kind of how it ended, is that he needed to, just confirm that monthly was something that the county court was also going to be willing to commit to, so.
And I replied, he asked me, emailed and asked, and I replied back and said monthly's fine if there's the need for it and the participation for it, so I haven't heard back
And,
on
and
date.
if the County Economic Development Office is the entity that is responsible for holding those and providing the appropriate support and organization of those. Of course, we have legislative session after the first year come in a full session. So what does Greg have in terms of staff right now, his own staff?
I think he's still looking to fill a position.
Well, there's Kristen out of Pendleton that's playing a much bigger role now, now that she's in place, and so I can kind of see her stepping in and helping move some of that forward, during the legislative session.
Okay.
as needed.
Because we definitely need someone, real person to do
Yeah,
that.
she was, online during the meeting, so taking notes and whatnot.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention, and I'm not asking for the court's support or anything, I'm just mentioning it for, awareness, really. But there's a bill in the US Senate, working its way through to designate, and I don't have the map yet, but it's 1 million acres of wilderness area in the Owyhee Canyonlands area in Malheur County. Obviously not Harney County's issue, but it goes back to access of our public lands, whether it be forest or BLM managed public lands. Had a lunch meeting with Senator Merkley's aide, Jessica Keys, last week. And we discussed it a little bit, and she's sent me some other information. I followed up with Malheur County, Judge Joyce, to see what their stance on it is. And everybody would just as soon be happy that it didn't happen, but they're also, in the event that it is or will happen, they're also trying to make sure that they get what they need out of it. I would, basically say, if it's gonna happen, then they want some kind of controls or options and grazing, et cetera, from it. So some of that has been put into the bill, and as a matter of fact, the bill itself, which is a little, what do I do with it? Maybe I left it on my desk. The bill is a little deceiving because it doesn't say, here it is. To provide for the establishment of grazing management program on federal land in Malheur County, Oregon. It doesn't say anything about a wilderness area. It says, talks about grazing, so, but ultimately it's a wilderness area designation. I don't know the exact areas along the river, and I believe the river is already designated as wild and scenic, which comes with a lot of regulation and whatnot on the river itself.
When there's very little good that comes from doubling up regulation. It makes it so hard for the federal agencies to function once you do that.
It's Senate Bill 1890. It was introduced last year, and I believe it's working its way through. I don't care what it says, I'm not gonna be in favor of it
Have you spoke
because.
to Representative Benz at this point?
No, I haven't. I know Representative Benz is working on some amendments to it.
I'd be curious to know what his amendments are.
I didn't want to go too far down that path until after I talked to Malheur County, and I just talked to them yesterday, so.
Okay.
Cause I kind of wanted to see, I didn't want to step in the middle of things of whatever Malheur County was doing. And I'm not doing this as an official capacity anyway either, but I am concerned about access to our public lands.
Well, the Southeast Oregon RAC, though, I'm actually on it. Hasn't met very regularly, though. It's one of those where between issues like this, and then you have the Thacker Pass issue to everything else, I feel like we're getting steamrolled on multiple issues within that RAC. And it's not how it should be.
Are there some vacancies on that rack that are positions that would be really good, because it would be more kind of our local input? Or not?
No, there's local input on it, but a lot of what's brought to them is, feels too predetermined.
The issues with wilderness areas, boundaries are set. And a management plan, there's funding, and I discussed this with.
But funding in a bill is not the same as actual, allocation. of it.
Yes,
You
yes, and I had that conversation
Had
with,
that happen on the Steams, and we still have yet to see that funding come to fruition, so.
and I had that discussion with Senator Merkley's aide. And I relayed my experience of working with the Bureau of Land Management in Eastern Oregon in a district that has 22 wilderness areas. And how no additional funding came from the designation of those wilderness areas to the BLM office in managing those wilderness areas. They were designated and then said, here, manage them as wilderness areas, beyond the initial planning management planning of it. After that, there's nothing. I had a visit here a while back from a hunter or a guide service, an individual, the guide contractual guiding service. This individual is in favor of the designation because then they can, guide with pack string or whatever on foot or whatever into the wilderness area. So it's an economic opportunity for them. But what about the other side of the coin and the economic issue with all the businesses around the area that see business from fuel and groceries and everything else of the people that recreate out there right now? That'll go away for those people. So it's economic development on one side and diminishes on the other side. And everybody thinks that more money is gonna come with this designation to help the BLM manage it. Recently, I was in the Owyhee, on my own time, vacation time in the Owyhee area. And dispersed areas were cleaner than BLM developed rec sites were cleaner. If they can't manage it now, what makes them think they're gonna manage it any better in the future with the increased designation? Just, again, my soapbox on that, but I wanted to say it in public as I want people to know, I want people to be aware of the action that's potentially coming.
No, more is really more. And, yeah, I know that there's concern about the amount of ATV activity out there. A blanket action like this is not the way to address that concern, but that's kind of their leverage that they're using. And, there's gotta be a better way to address some of that need for, making sure that the land's cared for and that it's, not being abused, but with, this type of designation, it does so much more than that. That goes beyond the intent of trying to, pull some of that in and help create some, sideboards to what's going on as far as the activity.
The provisions in this bill for the grazing management are things that they could do without designating a wilderness area.
Right.
It doesn't take a wilderness area to do these grazing issues. There is a portion of this bill also that I think conveys, and again, I haven't seen the map, I'm looking for maps, but takes a portion of those public lands and places them in trust for the Burns Paiute tribe. So they're just gonna redesignate from public lands to BIA or however that would look. Again, those are things they can do without designation of a wilderness area as well. If there was an archaeological site that was a major concern to the tribe, they could do that without designating a wilderness area. So it's like they're just trying to throw all of it into one package.
Right, and maybe put the grazing issue up front to make it sort of mislead.
Then you get part of the anti-grazers.
Yeah. So again, just, that was my soapbox, I guess, for a few minutes.
No, appreciate you leaning in on it. I share the same concerns.
Any other topics? That's what I had.
Just as far as the fairgrounds project, the company that we're engaging with, brought up the fact that there are grants for seismic 4 designation, to a building, which would allow for additional upgrades to take place. It has a grant process, through the state. And so I'm working with Melinda as well as a company that these contractors have worked with to do that type of grant. I've also talked to Representative Owens and suggested to him that he look up how many buildings within his district actually have a seismic 4 category designation, because that allows it to be occupied after a seismic event. And chances are there's very few. And so the particular firm that we're engaging with, to see about it being an opportunity to marry into this project to allow that structure to have that type of designation. We're setting up a meeting for next week to discuss the details, but it kind of, I also talked to the Economic Development Director, Greg Smith, about this, that, within this area, there's very few eyes on that type of an issue, and so, this firm has worked with a lot of fire departments. And, so I gave him the contact information for our 2 local fire departments. Oftentimes they can do those seismic upgrades through this grant process to those buildings really easily. And so, you know, it's something not just with the Fairgrounds project, I'm hoping to raise some awareness throughout this jurisdiction as well as,
I
you know,
actually-
help Representative Owen Strata's district try to maybe engage, you know, as we look at projects, often seismic activity is not.
Later
the first
School
thing we
got
think about.
got some funding to improve their seismic stability
Well,
a
that's-
couple years ago.
We turned it down.
Oh, you turned it
because
down?
The loopholes attached with it and the red tape are prohibitive.
Oh.
If you were to dispose of that building within 10 years, you'd have to pay all the money back plus interest. And to install all the things to their specifications was not a good deal. And
Yeah, it depends on the type of structure you're starting out with.
they did that on a structure in Lake County and it basically rendered the structure unusable for the purpose it had previously been useful once they did, but that was a seismic retrofit.
Yeah, the
after the fact.
retrofit.
So maybe
Yeah.
if they did that on a new construction, we could use it as an emergency facility.
Yeah, you beef up, the design of the initial structure, and
Sorry.
so that's, no, thank you, because that's the thing is, it depends on the limitations of the retrofit. So, you know, your fire halls, it would all depend on, you know, the nature of them and being able to retrofit them. With a new structure, especially this style of structure, it would take very little to bring it up to that kind of quality. But then we would need to designate the fairgrounds as more than just a, livestock, you know, emergency place. We could actually designate, it differently to allow for occupation of it, in a different manner. So those are all things we're kind of just trying to make sure that we take a look at on the front end of it and see what could be possibilities, but we'll have that meeting next week. Melinda said that she's out on the 9th for a while, and so we'll just kind of keep her looped in, but she is aware that we're looking into it. It's just one more thing that, you know, if that could happen, it would still be nice in the event of an emergency that we had something that was actually rated properly for occupation after a seismic event.
Now, does that rating or that standard in construction to give it that rating? Does that mean if it's in the area of a seismic event? Because if a seismic event happens on the west side of the state and we don't, does the building still have to have that rating in order for it to be used as a shelter?
Those
Or-
were questions I had for Melinda that she was following up on her end. She was meeting with her folks, and so she's kind of trying to have a better understanding and feel for, you know, proximity of that event to us. You know, if they have a set, you know, radius for that. It kind of depends on, you know, in the seismic world, you have, you know, your numbers that they throw out there, but it creates different waves, you know, and distances that it can come. And so I'd imagine it depends on how that event's rated, what our impact would be. And so those are things she's kind of trying to dig into on her side and ask the right questions so that we can have a better conversation around it.
Yeah, and even if it's at the beginning of construction, if the funds could be obtained at the
Well,
beginning of
that's it.
construction,
You know,
then
if we can utilize this grant process, we would definitely try to achieve that. If we can't, then that's fine too, but we would then know what rating we are at. If we're only at a 3 without that additional grant. So, as I say, things we're trying to inform ourselves on and make sure we understand, and then.
and if the intent is to be a facility for evacuation from people on the other side of the state, or the intent is to provide shelter for our own community.
Mhm. Yeah, all questions we're trying to, like, say, kind of sort through and see, you know, what opportunity is out there. And then even as we look at county-owned facilities that are designated for emergency shelters, you know, those are conversations once Melinda understands more that she could then have at those facilities to see if we want to engage with any retrofitting of any other buildings that are already designated as our sheltering areas. That was one thing that we're working on, that kind of a curveball that we're like, oh, we had not looked at that side of it.
Look carefully, please.
But the grants are, it's a known grant process. It's, actually a pretty achievable process from what we've heard, but, you know, it's good to know what the school district's experience was with it. And Slater is a very old building and it probably
I think
would have its challenges.
Grant County received some seismic retrofit, funds
might have.
for their courthouse, I believe,
Oh, really?
or one of their facilities. It seems like they received some in the past
I
couple of
remember
years.
seeing something on that too. So like say other counties have looked at it. I've never heard us have a conversation around it. And so getting to know more about it, Melinda, like I say, is trying to familiarize herself with that. So
And this building was seismically redone years ago. It's probably not in standards today, but, it was what.
It was.
it would be
done
nice
once
to know
already.
what it would be rated at today.
This was a place for emergency food. Hasn't been long since they cleared that out.
Any other general discussion, deliberation?
Can I add one point?
Sure.
That was, the refuge, just when it was on the radio this last week. With Dominic, their new person, I can't remember his last name.
Bachman.
Anyway, yeah, they're talking about renaming Malheur Lake. And they're working with the tribe, on that. And they're expecting a designation, I think he said by the end of the year.
They have, did he mention suggestions or possible names of it?
I can't remember it, and it was one I couldn't.
It's
Think of it.
technically not a lake, and so I know that was part of their consideration is it's, actually a marsh. And so-
Wetland, a wetland thing.
Yeah, and so they were reconsidering the lake part of it within the renaming.
All right, well, if
Hard to
there,
change.
if there is nothing else, then county court
Rebranding.
will stand adjourned at 12:35 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Is this what? This is who we handed out. This is this the same thing?